in a time where seemingly no sports were on, this team, this director, this whole production group was able to unite generations together with this story and transport us back into a world where a lot of people are familiar with and a lot of people loved. It was the world of Michael Jordan. So I want to start this off by saying, if you haven't seen the Last Dance documentary, I would highly encourage watching it, especially if you are a sports fan in general, let alone a basketball fan, because this 10-part docuseries is one of the best pieces of sports media that I've seen in a long time. And of course it would be, because it's about the GOAT, Michael Jordan. So I'm going to give my basic thoughts of The Last Dance and break down some things that really stood out to me, the good, the bad, and even the Dennis Rodman. Let's get into it. So to start off, credit to Jason Haher, I hope I'm saying his name right, and the whole team. Haher was the director of the docuseries, and he's done some notable things like the Fab Five doc and the 85 Bears doc. So he has familiarity and experience doing this. He's been doing this for a while, and he's pretty good at it. And this was any indication, I think he has a bright future for other docuseries. Not only was he able to craft a fantastic story in 10 episodes, but he was able to put it out a month ahead of schedule time. And that is the greatest feat of the whole accomplishment. For this to come out with no competition, everyone and their mother was watching this thing. I can guarantee you that the ratings were probably through the roof. There's so much to this story, and there's so much that goes into it, and I learned so much about Jordan. And not only him, but the whole team, Phil Jackson, Jerry Krause. There's so much that is talked about in this docuseries, but the main focus is Michael Jordan because it is centered around him. And that was kind of a complaint that I saw people saying, that, you know, it's kind of skewed in his favor. And yeah, it is. And I would have liked to see other things. I would have liked to see his gambling addiction and how other people viewed that. I would have liked to see Jerry Krause and tell his side of the story. I would have liked to see all these different things and kind of shape the story even more. But again, that kind of goes to show that the time that they had and wanting to put out the story, I'm sure it would have been a little different if they would have released it in June, so that they could have maybe changed some things. But ultimately, I'm really happy with the story that we got. It just shows how not only Jordan was as a competitor and a player, because in a lot of people, in my eyes, he's the GOAT, the greatest player of all time. But not only that, he was by far the greatest competitor of all time. And I know that will spark debates. Is it LeBron or Jordan? The whole controversy that has escalated in the past couple of weeks. But right now, I think LeBron's legacy is undetermined. Like, he still has a couple years left to prove and cement his own path. Opening up the series with this fantastic soundtrack. It is so good. It's got that 90s style vibe. You got Run DMC. You have Coolio in there. All the way through. The music does not drop off. And the intro and that playing every time got me so excited to watch this, because you know that this is leading up to Jordan's last season. This is leading up to The Last Dance. And the way that they kind of go about that, skipping from periods of time in his life, going back from 97 to 93 or to 89 with Doug Collins, it's going back and forth. And some people may have had a problem with that, and I can see why, because it is jumping around a lot. But it's a unique way to tell the story. It would be kind of boring if they just went, okay, here's the 91 season. Okay, here's the 92 season. It just makes it more interesting to kind of jump around and go to different periods of his life. Also, the documentary being uncensored on ESPN was a sight to see, because having Jordan or Scottie Pippen just freely cursed without being censored, I think was a good thing, because it made it raw, it made it real. And then of course we have Dennis Rodman, who can just pretty much do whatever he wants and get away with it. He can skip practice and go on a bender and meet with Carmen Electra and party with the guys in the WWE, and then show up the next day for a finals game, a huge game, and still perform. That's the kind of person that Dennis Rodman was, and he is an odd man, that's for sure. I honestly did want to see more of him. I think he was kind of brought in the beginning, and it was really good, kind of going back and forth with him and Jordan. And then you had him with the Bad Boys, so he had another side of the story to play with that. He kind of faded away as the story ended, which I kind of wanted to see more of him at the end. Same thing with Scottie Pippen. He was integral in the beginning, especially in episode 2. When you think of duos, you think Jordan and Pippen, the dynamic duo themselves. Scottie helped a lot with Jordan's career, but I think that he was sidelined a little bit and he could have used some more screen time as well. Jordan's path to these 6 championships and the 2 three-peats were certainly not a cakewalk, because he went up against some of, if not the greatest competition in basketball. I mean, going up against Larry Bird, going up against Magic Johnson, Gary the Glove Payton, Reggie Miller. I mean, the list goes on and on. Karl Malone. I mean, you could talk about it for days, and I'll put it up on the screen, but he had such a difficult task ahead of him. And for what he was able to accomplish in that period of time is something that no one has really done. I mean, yes, Tom Brady and the Patriots, they've won 6 championships, but it took them so many years to do that. Whereas Jordan, he won 6 in under 10 years. It's unheard of. Seeing the coaches of the Bulls and kind of comparing the style of Doug Collins to Phil Jackson and his triangle offense, and then transitioning from the two of them and their different philosophies, kind of showed how, as the team grew, it also matured. The tragic death of Jordan's father and him dealing with that was obviously a huge part of the show, and his departure for baseball, and how the team changed after that year that he left for the MLB, and how kind of Scotty tried to take the lead and things really weren't working. And Jordan, when he came back, things were initially slow because he was rusty and he wasn't in shape. But once he got it going and changed his number back from 45 to 23, that's when things started really picking up, and that's when the team got that life again, got that energy to win. Going up against Isaiah Thomas and the Bad Boy Pistons was one of my favorite things to watch, and that rivalry and that intensity. That's what I loved about this era of time in basketball, because it was physical and you really had to be mentally tough along with being physically tough to win. And the Bad Boys were fun to hate. There are a lot of teams like that in sports today, but Isaiah Thomas, kind of him going back and forth with Jordan and then him getting snubbed out of the USA team, was an interesting treat to watch. And then, of course, we have MJ Pizzagate in Utah. Of course, the only one place that's open in Utah for pizza. And then causing the flu game, more like the food poisoning game, I guess you could say, but that really doesn't sound as good. It was absolutely spectacular to watch. I mean, the whole story leading up to that was something that not many people knew. And kind of discovering that and then seeing how he reacted and then played was amazing. I think a big thing in terms of emotion was the relationship between Jordan and Gus, the security guard. Jordan didn't have a father figure after his dad was murdered, and seeing Gus kind of step in and just have that bond between the two of them, and Jordan having him sit front row, and then Jordan getting him the game ball after the championship. One thing that really stood out to me was watching this with my brother and us bonding over this period of time and bonding over this team and this player. And in particular, when Jordan went up against Karl Malone and the Jazz, my brother turns to me and says, "You know why they always called him the mailman? Because he always delivers." And as soon as he says that, Karl Malone makes a jumper. And it was like perfectly timed, and I just look at him and I just smile. Scotty had one of the best trash-talking lines to Karl Malone, and I'm not going to try and impersonate him because his voice is that of an angel, so I'm not going to try and replicate that. But he goes up to him and he says, you know, the mailman don't deliver on Sunday. Just absolutely just bodied him and just roasted him. And you know, it worked out for the Bulls pretty well because they won that finals. The anticipation leading up to that final series against the Jazz and Jordan going for his 6th ring, and just the moments of Game 6 and Jordan hitting that jumper and Bob Costas going, "Jordan, open! Chicago with the lead!" And no, he didn't push off. I firmly stand by that. The guy was going down and his momentum was taking him down to the floor. So he definitely didn't push off. I know it may have looked like that, but no way. And then there's a little kid in the crowd who, after Jordan hit that jumper, is just holding up six after he hit it. And it's pretty iconic because after he hit that, they were saying, you know, the life was taken out of the building after that went in. And it certainly was, because a lot of people knew that it was over. Even though you know what's going to happen, it's still nerve-wracking to watch, because the way that it was kind of created and the emotion behind it makes you think, oh, well, are they going to lose even though you know they're going to win? So credit to the team for creating the suspense on that one. Now, a lot of people are saying, could the Bulls have won a 7th ring if they brought everyone back, if they ran it back? And I think they would have had a shot, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen, and the team was dismantled, and a rebuild was started, and They haven't won a championship since. I could talk about this for hours and hours on end, but I just wanted to summarize my thoughts and kind of give my reactions to the show. And ultimately, this was such a fun time, a great experience, and I hope that something like this can come out in the future with someone else. I know they're working on a Kobe documentary that's going to take a long time to develop, but just things like this and creating sports stories like this just makes people so endeared to the athletes. The commitment that they have for this sport just is second to none. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed, and comment as well who you think the best player was in your eyes. It could be MJ, it could be LeBron, it could be Magic. There's so many choices. Let me know down below. And for that, guys, I appreciate the support as always. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.